Man, someone as inept and average as you becoming a surgeon. Seems like the standard for doctors has really gone downhill. Sigh. I'm a grad of the University of Tokyo, you know, a level above someone useless, like you. Saying such, with a mocking sneer, was Johns, one of my colleagues. Come on, as a doctor, you should at least try to improve your skills. Having said his piece, Johns left the room chuckling, as if he felt relieved. Whew. He finally left. Just as I thought that, someone patted me on the shoulder. Don't worry about him, you're doing great, Dr. Kyle. Ms. Brown. The person who tapped my shoulder was Ms. Brown, one of the nurses. She's a veteran here, and also the head nurse, overseeing all the nurses in this university hospital. I think Dr. Johns just doesn't like the fact that you're well liked by the patients here. Sigh, is that so? Yes, it is. Dr. Johns' consultations are infamous for his lack of bedside manner and arrogant attitude. He gives hasty explanations and doesn't seem to consider the patient's feelings at all. Indeed, just as Ms. Brown said, I hadn't heard many good things about him. But I heard he performs quite a few surgeries. Only as the first assistant, though. He talks big, but he's always just assisting. He's never really led a surgery by himself, and when he does, it's only the simplest ones that any doctor should be able to do. I gave a wry smile to Ms. Brown, who was frowning as she expressed her frank opinion. Being the first assistant means acting as the primary assistant to the lead surgeon. Even though he's not the one directly making incisions, watching surgeries up close as the first assistant must be a great experience. As if to defend him, I shook my head. I don't have much experience as a lead surgeon myself. Hearing this, the frown on Ms. Brown's face disappears, replaced by laugh lines on her cheeks. Dr. Kyle, you're great. You always treat patients with kindness and thorough examinations, and most importantly, many patients have been saved thanks to your accurate diagnoses which lead to early detection. I just made decisions based on the situation at hand. At my modest reply, Ms. Brown puffs up her cheeks, seemingly dissatisfied. There you go again, Dr. Kyle, being too modest. You should have more confidence in yourself. While we were talking, Ms. Brown's pager went off. It's a cell phone used in the hospital. Oh, my pager's ringing. I'll catch up with you later. Sure, see you later. Ms. Brown told me to be more confident, but I don't consider myself anything special. After all, I couldn't save the people I truly wanted to save with my own hands. Kyle, are you really going to become a doctor? Yeah, I've told my parents and the teachers at school that, after high school, I'm going to apply to med school. Well, can you, Kyle, who's squeamish about blood, really do it? I will, because... I looked at her lying in front of me. She was lying there, connected to various tubes. When I told her I'd do anything to cure your illness, she smiled sadly. Thank you. Without facing her squarely. Absorbed in my own dream. I naively replied with a beaming smile, wait for me, I'll become a doctor who can cure any injury or illness, even yours. To these words, she showed a look of surprise, but quickly replaced it with a gentle smile. Okay, it's a promise, not just for me, but become a doctor who can save others too. Yeah, I promise. We did a pinky swear. As we made the promise, she cried. She cried while laughing. I'm happy, she said, crying and laughing at the same time. At that time, I didn't know that her time was so short, and also that that day would be our last together. Lost in these final memories of her, Ms. Brown rushed over to me. What's wrong, Ms. Brown? An emergency patient is being brought in by ambulance right now. What's the condition? They've been in a car accident. There's skull exposure and abdominal bleeding, also a broken right leg, which the paramedics are currently treating. Skull exposure. There might be internal organ damage too. Please, get an operating room ready. I was arranging to go into the operating room when Johns arrived. an emergency case. After asking, Johns turned to me with a mocking grin. You won't be able to handle it, so I'll do the surgery. And so, the lead surgeon was Johns, with me as the first assistant. Word got out that I was entering the operating room. And suddenly, Kyle in the operating room, but he rarely does surgery, became the tark among the hospital staff. But right now, I couldn't afford to care who was talking about me. The patient, hurriedly brought in on a stretcher, was covered in blood on the head and abdomen, with their right leg bent in an unnatural direction. This is bad, I must save them, just hang in there. Thinking this, I glanced at Johns, standing next to me. In contrast to my determination to save the patient, his face, even behind the mask, was visibly pale. Johns, I called out to him, but he just shook his head. This is impossible. I wasn't expecting it to be this bad. This patient can't be saved. Hearing John's declaration, I felt a rush of anger. Unable to be saved. How can you say that in front of a patient? Startled by my uncharacteristically raised voice, John stumbled and fell to the floor. Ignoring him, I let my feelings pour out. Don't decide it's over before we even start. What kind of doctor are you? There's a patient suffering right in front of us, and you don't even want to try to save them. You're not a doctor. Johns, still sitting on the floor, looked confused but stared intently into my eyes. I'm sore. He seemed to be trying to apologize, his voice trembling. Judging that Johns was not in a condition to proceed, I moved to the surgeon's position. I'll perform the surgery. As I declared this, Johns looked at me in surprise. What? Therefore, Johns, step aside. No, it's impossible for you to lead the surgery. You've hardly done any surgeries, and you think you can handle such a complex operation. We don't have time for this, just step aside, Johns. Overwhelmed by my determination, Johns, who was still trembling, got up and moved to the observation area. Let's begin the surgery. From that point on, I didn't pay attention to anyone else's words. I was only listening for necessary words. Where did that agility come from? Of course, John's words didn't reach my ears. He's on a different level. In response to John's comment, one of the observers, who had been watching from the corner, said, "Don't you know Professor Williams? Kyle is the valedictorian from Harvard Medical School, you know." What, he is? Unaware of the conversation between Johns and the professor, I was focused solely on the patient in front of me. I will save them. That's what I decided that day. I promised to become a doctor who would save everyone from any injury, any illness. That was my promise. So, please watch over me, Lisa. Dr. Kyle, about that patient, there are no post-surgical complications, and their vitals are stable. That's great, thank you, Ms. Brown. As Ms. Brown and I were having this exchange, Johns came over with a displeased look. What was that all about? What do you mean? As I tilted my head, confused by what Johns meant, he grabbed my collar and confronted me aggressively. Don't play dumb. What was that divine skill? A normal person, I couldn't have saved them. Johns released his grip on my collar and let his arms fall limply. He had a look of frustration on his face. Not intending to make him feel that way, I was at a loss for what to do next, when Williams, who had come to observe, approached. Well, that was incredible. To miraculously save someone from such a hopeless situation, it's truly a divine feat. Flustered by the excessive praise, I blushed slightly and shook my head. You're exaggerating, Professor Williams. Johns then confronted Williams with his questions. Did you know, Professor Williams, that this guy had such skills? As I said this, Williams burst into laughter. No, I was the one who scouted him for this hospital. After graduating from Harvard Medical School, Kyle worked as a physician in the US for 2 years. It was tough to persuade him to come to Japan. But when I heard he was researching a rare disease, we had cases of that disease in our university hospital. So I invited him to join us. What, Wart, you never mentioned that, Johns exclaimed in surprise, and I was dumbfounded. Well, I mean, nobody asked. No, number top of your class at Harvard Medical School, scouted by Williams. Why wouldn't you mention something like that? I wondered why Johns was blaming me like this. After some thought, I realized something. Perhaps for Johns, educational background and career history are important. Otherwise, he wouldn't have specifically mentioned graduating from a prestigious university like Tokyo University. So, I said to Johns, Tommy, titles and all that don't matter, I just want to save as many people as I can, that's all there is to it. Despite my words, Johns still seemed unconvinced. Then, why don't you perform more surgeries as a lead surgeon? That's because. John's question was indeed valid. As I struggled to respond, Williams stepped in to explain on my behalf. That's because Kyle has been operating on patients that only he can save. While the number of surgeries he has performed as the lead surgeon is few, each one was a severe and challenging case. Yet, Kyle managed to save them all. Hearing this, John started to tremble. Does that mean he doesn't show up for cases that aren't serious? Williams smilingly replied, well, that's one way to put it. After all, you couldn't even start operating on that patient, ending up falling on your backside and giving up. If he responds like that, Johns might get even angrier. I fought this, looking at John's expression. As expected, his face was turning red, looking like he was about to explode. Perturbed by John's demeanor, Williams continued. Kyle is an excellent doctor, Johns, you have potential too, you should strive to be like him. Saying this, Williams excused himself with a well, I'll be off then, and left. Left behind were just the three of us, me, Ms. Brown, and Johns. Johns, perhaps recalling his previous attitude towards me, looked somewhat awkward. Ignoring Johns, Ms. Brown slapped me on the shoulder with a thud. Wow, Dr. Kyle, you graduated from Harvard Medical School, and top of your class. Yes, well, it's not something to brag about. What are you saying? That's even more impressive than Tokyo University. No wonder your diagnoses are so spot on. I'm going to rely on you even more from now on. Go Dr. Kyle. Saying this, Ms. Brown enthusiastically patted my back. After finishing with me, she turned to Johns and said, You too, Dr. Johns, you should learn from Dr. Kyle. Even Professor Williams said you have potential. Keep it up, and she gave Johns back a hearty pat as well. Ms. Brown, what a fearless person. I could almost feel a murderous aura emanating from the downcast Johns. Well, I need to go check on a patient now, see you. After Ms. Brown left, a much lower voice than usual came from Johns, hey. Startled by its depth, I inadvertently let out a weird, whoa. Then Johns pointed his finger sharply at me. I won't lose to you, I'll become a doctor who doesn't need you for surgery. Having said his piece, Johns, looking determined, walked away from the scene. Watching him go, I couldn't help but chuckle. I don't quite get it, but if it got him motivated, that's good. I need to keep pushing myself too. Thinking this, I headed to the examination room I was in charge of. 3 years later, I had established a treatment for a certain rare disease. It was the same disease that had claimed the life of my former lover, Lisa. I did it, Lisa. Finally, I can help people suffering from the same disease as Lisa. Now I can truly save everyone. Finally, my efforts are paying off. Kyle, this paper, it will undoubtedly change the world. And you'll be inundated with patients wanting you to operate on them. You won't have a moment's rest, continuously using your skills. Are you okay with that? As Williams asked me this, I nodded without hesitation. That's why I became a doctor. I am Kyle. Graduated top of my class from Harvard Medical School. Then worked as a physician in the US for 2 years. Now, I have returned to Japan and am working as a doctor at a university hospital. The reason I became a doctor was to help people suffering from injuries and illnesses. As an aside, what happened to Johns after that? Still unpopular, I see, Dr. Johns. Brown sighed in exasperation. Curious, I asked, "What's the matter, Ms. Brown?" "Oh, Dr. Kyle, listen to this. A patient who came in for a consultation today complained about Dr. Johns." "That must have been tough. What was the complaint about?" "In the past, complaints about Johns were always about his lack of friendliness, arrogance, sloppy explanations, or not considering the patient's feelings." "Still getting complaints, huh?" I thought with a wry smile, but Ms. Brown's next words were unexpected. "They said his smile is scary." "His smile is scary?" "Yes, his smile is so awkward that it made a child cry during an injection." I've never heard such a complaint before. Well, I gently smiled. He's trying in his own way, I guess. Just because I've established a treatment for Lisa's rare disease doesn't mean I can slack off. There are still many unexplained diseases out there in the world. I want to find treatments for those too. I need to keep pushing myself, I think, in order to continue honoring the promise that I made to Lisa.